This episode is brought to you by Mortgage Workflow Partners and the Mastering Encompass series, both for users as well as administrators. You can find out all the information about it over at masteringencompass.com. Also, if you'd like to check out what we're doing on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel using the @MasteringEncompass handle. And make sure you stay up to date on all the information, not just with podcasts, but also video content that we bring to you as often as possible. Now let's get on to the episode. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Larry Bailey here, Mortgage Workflow Partners. We're live. Amy and Katie, thanks for showing up.
Party's here. You can start now. Oh, sorry.
Internet was never my strong suit, but I tried.
It did. We did have to have a Zoom account to log in. So that just took another minute. I don't know if people are having to do that, and it might take them a little bit.
Nah, yeah, I tried to be clear, but it's not unusual for me to be confusing. Yeah, you have to have a Zoom account, but you don't have to register for it. And I did that because I've had situations with clients where they do these Zoom accounts and they just get Zoom bombed. And so it's no fun. It's no fun. So anyway, thanks for coming. So I've got a couple things to talk about, but this is all about discussing open Q&A. So Amy, Katie, because you guys are here live, any questions, anything you want to talk about?
No, I forgot you're recording. So I need to
well, you're being
make sure I censor myself.
And you're being streamed. So it's kind of like, it's just us. It's just us though. It's just us. Yeah, it's is that hampering our conversation because it's being live streamed and recorded?
No, I was going to talk about something else, but that's fine. I'll call you later.
Amy doesn't like to be filtered.
No, it's regarding the September your regional meeting, which I'm very excited for, and wanted to talk about September. And I wanted to ask how didn't you have one in Baltimore already? I want to know how it went and stuff. But
no, so we had one in Boston, and it went okay. It went great. Everybody there had a good time. The one thing that happened there, and it also happened in Vegas, is that because and it's totally my fault. I didn't really have the kind of structure that I wanted. In my head, it didn't come out in real life. So one of the things that kind of morphed into this whole Mastering Encompass piece was to focus on group focused workflow discussions and group focused workflow and settings conversations. So kind of like what we did in Vegas, we in Boston, we got together, we talked about third parties, we talked about building the perfect kind of workflow kind of a thing. And all that went really well. There's a lot of good conversation. I showed everybody who was there, I showed folks some things they didn't realize they could do in dashboards, which was great. I showed folks some things they didn't realize they could do in settings, which was really nice. But one of the things that I didn't do there, and it felt kind of like a hollow victory, but I didn't have a chance to really get into specific teams, like dealing with specific loan officer stuff or specific underwriter stuff, things like that. And so I took that back to the lab, so to speak, and came up with this whole Mastering Encompass thing to focus in on sales team specific knowledge. So I canceled the rest of the workshops except for Omaha, basically the last half of the year. So Omaha, Philadelphia, and Dallas I kept. So September, October, November. And what I'm going to be putting out is an agenda for specific teams. So I'm going to change the format up to really be speaking towards that, because as an example, I'm just finding there are a ton of companies who have a lot of underwriters who've never been properly trained or shown how to leverage Encompass properly. So that's kind of how that went, Amy. Long way around that answer.
Okay, because I've been getting the word out to other Encompass admins and stuff in our area that I know would be interested in stuff too. But So are you having like breakout sessions then where you'll have like underwriters
Yeah,
running
that's
it that way?
right. Yeah. So it's, I want there to be, again, if I could wave a magic wand, we'd have more than 10 people. Right. So I'd have, if we just wanted to focus on administrator topics, which, again, by September, maybe I doubt we'll have 23.3, but maybe it'll be in a test by then. So it'd be interesting to see what ICE is coming out with on the web, because there's just a ton of development going in there. We had a really good meeting with the partners get together once a month, and we meet with the ICE folks, and the things that ICE is really pushing into Encompass on the web is very, very special. It's very, very cool. So I see that happening. And then also, if we get anybody to register that, again, are in sales or other departments, I'd love to get them out there, even if it's for part of the day, because sometimes the whole day is tough. But even if it's part of the day, to focus in on those, like you said, breakout sessions, but to focus in on those department specific topics that just don't get the attention I feel they need.
Okay, well, that's good to know, because then I can let different people know about it than I would normally just go with Encompass admins. But if I could definitely see a need for that. And there's a lot of, I know banks and mortgage companies here in this area that are using Encompass and could take advantage of that. So, okay, not to derail your whole conversation.
No. Listen, I changed it up. I was kind of having a fit over, once a week seems like a lot for everybody. And so counterintuitive, so intuitively, I'm like, well, let's just do it once a month. And then I'm like, there's so much that happens once a month. There's not enough time to really have a conversation
Right.
with everybody. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to go counterintuitive. And if nobody shows up, I've always got something to share. Like, I want to share today something that I haven't done in a little while, but I got a conversation from a client we're working with who's had Encompass for a while, but from a management perspective, never really got any KPI information out of it, key performance indices or indicators. And so, I want to revisit with everybody on, how to use basic field calc, date-based calculations off of the PDF, and just go over that DateDiff function, because I think a lot of folks don't even realize you can do that, or they do it.
I have used it, but it's been a long time. No, I think that's great. So basically, even if we don't come live, you'll record something, and basically it's like helpful tips every week. It's going to be, and so you'll stream it, and so then we can go on to the community page and stuff, and we can just go and watch the stuff then. I really like that idea.
Yeah, and so, like, so after we're done for today, I'll go back and I can post notes to say, hey, here's what we talked about. So for today, I wasn't sure if anybody was going to show up, because again, my marketing skills suck, and my communication skills are sometimes not good. Like, even Kayla's saying she can't get on masteeringencompass.com. I think I typed that right.
You can't. So there was an issue on that. You can't click on your link, the HTTPS. It blocks you, and it says that you don't have some sort of certificate. But if I just type in masteeringencompass.com, then I can get to it. I have to take that HTTPS off the beginning.
Yeah, it's weird, because I've.
So I did have that issue yesterday, but I
paste it, though it works, right?
No, it doesn't. I still get the error message.
Not the HTTPS, just the www. So if you go in and just type in www.masteeringencompass.com.
Correct. Yes. But if you click on your link, or just copy your word that you have, because you've got that that didn't work for me, but that, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
So I don't know if I want to retype your.
I'll probably send out another thing again.
Link on there or whatever, but yeah, I saved it going forward for the different days. With just a link straight to the Zoom, so it worked. So
okay, awesome. So I want to talk about a couple things. So Amy, we talked about your piece with the workshops, and then Katie, did you have anything?
I don't have anything.
So did you guys catch? I'm going to ask you then. Did you guys go through, obviously, you saw the test, the test for the 23.2 come in. There's only been a couple of minor updates to the release notes. I think there's like 2 or 3. But for again, for those that don't have this is all public. So if you're watching my screen, you can see the domain. But the release notes, I think I said this to the partner team. I think they've been doing a really great job on getting these to be much more comprehensive. Quite honestly, I don't know if anybody's ever checked these out recently, or the release notes by persona. But this checklist also, I was going to kind of push this out. This checklist is pretty, they've gotten really good at doing this. So if anybody isn't aware that you can have a little checklist dude here on who you assign things to, it does pretty well to go through the different parts. So again, I don't know if you guys, Katie or Amy, if you guys actually ever do this or hand this out, but it actually is pretty handy right now.
Usually when there's a checklist, we do use it because it's a good reminder to, like to mark on there to say, don't forget to do this on the day you go live, or the Sunday after the update on that. And I was going to tell you too, like, we do really appreciate the videos that you do going over the release notes, because it's, number one, I'm much more likely to do them way ahead of time versus the day before or the 3 days before they roll out, even though they're in test. And you're very thorough on things, and even things when I think don't apply to me, when I hear you talking about them, I'm like, oh, well, that may apply to me now. So you give a little bit of understanding and stuff. And so I think this is probably one of the things that is completely invaluable on your website, because that we just can't do without is the videos that you put out for the updates, the big releases.
Thank you. I'll keep them going. I do it again. I think I've said this before. It's completely self-serving, because if I don't, like, I'm helping a client go with Loan Vision, the accounting platform.
Mm-hmm.
And Terra Verdi's got a plugin for it. And there's a couple of documents in there that they sent over for, I guess we have a kickoff meeting today or tomorrow or something. And if I don't literally go through and read it out loud, my brain just doesn't, like, I'll read something and I'll go, oh, okay, I get it. But reading it out loud is just a different kind of a thing for me. So if I won't record that, because there's probably nobody else that'll listen to it. But yeah, I'd find that with the release notes, or even like these emails that go out every now and then, putting them into context and kind of saying it out loud with somebody as a conversation, and that usually spawns some other thoughts. So I'm just typing in a note to Kayla over in mortgage.community. She can't get into it. It sucks. I was trying to make it simple, like masteringencompass.com. I thought that was pretty cool, but I guess not. I guess it's failing somehow. So that was on my mind for today. So this next thing was Kevin's joining. So this next thing I want to talk about was this DateDiff function. Kevin, I'm so sorry if you were the one that was trying to click my bad link. I really apologize. I suck. So thanks for coming. So this DateDiff piece comes in with the loan custom field PDF. So everybody should have this like stapled to their virtual or real desks. This is the loan custom field PDF that has changed. I don't know the last time it changed, November 2014. So maybe it's been a while. But this guy right here, this DateDiff, is what I used to build this for a project for a client, because basically they wanted to have some key performance indicators laid out, because they'd never really had it. And so what ends up happening is, this is an interesting, this brought up something really interesting. So naturally the DateDiff, you call out the portion of the date. When you're dealing with things like milestones, obviously it's date time, right? So you have to kind of drill into the date part of that VB language to compare with just a straight date field. The thing that's interesting here is, when I left it for the screenshot, 2025 is a string field. So I could have gone back and done a formatting trick inside here to basically put a plus symbol to format this to a date, to compare it against the date. Otherwise, because this custom field calc was failing. But instead I just used the log.ms.date.file started instead of 2025. I typically try to stay away from virtual fields, but when it comes to calcs like this, this was reliable. So basically turn these in. Here's the deal though, and I can't show the pipeline view because it's a live production, but a quick question, Amy, Katie, and Kevin, for you guys, if you want to chat or voice, but do you have, I'm going to stop sharing for just this, I'm going to pause sharing for just a second and bring it up. But do you have rebuild Encompass pipeline in your settings? And the reason why I'm asking is because it's not typically enabled unless you ask for it. And so that was the reason for me wanting to rebuild. So I can resume share now. So on screen in this environment, you'll see it under system administration. And if you don't have a rebuild pipeline here, it's because ICE disables it unless you really need it. And the only time you really need it is if you do something like this. So even though these fields are in the reporting database, because they're field calcs, the loan, right? Think it through. The loan won't actually, Encompass won't actually put the values in these custom fields until you open the file. So yeah, so Amy, if you only need to have this if you do something like what I did, which is I created a custom field that I wanted in the reporting database, and I want to go over a bunch of loans in the past, right? Because if this is all about moving forward, you don't need to rebuild your pipeline because the data doesn't exist. But in this particular example in Encompass, what ends up happening is I couldn't do that. These are closed loans in this particular environment. And I wanted to make sure that on the pipeline view, dashboard and report, the report worked properly and dashboard worked properly and pipeline view worked properly. But it would only work, obviously, if somebody went into a loan file. So is this making sense the way I'm explaining it?
It does. I honestly did. I didn't even know that was a possibility that you could go back and even with rebuilding, go back and have that field in the old loans. I always thought it was always just going forward. So that is nice to know because occasionally we do have that situation where we want to do that.
Right.
So we just have to reach out to our reps and see if they'll, and then have them added or just the customer service.
Not even your rep, just open up a case.
Okay.
But you need to explain why you need it. And because it's pretty load intensive. I mean, I don't know if, we're watching this live and Encompass has to go into every file. It's got to open it, each loan. It's not like the reporting database where it just looks for the specific fields in the RDB. It literally has to open the file, save it, close it for all the custom fields to calc. So it's extraordinarily, comparatively speaking, it's extraordinarily hard on the server. So in the case that I created, I told them in the case exactly what I needed and why I needed it. And it was, I mean, the rep was awesome. I mean, responded to me within an hour, maybe even half an hour. So yeah, that's what you would do, Amy.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Anytime, like I said, anytime you need to have a field show up on your pipeline view dashboard or report that is just a straight up standard field, it'll show. But if it's a calc, you have to rebuild the pipeline unless you're going to have somebody go into the file. But I don't think going into 2,676 loans is probably a good idea. Anyway, that was my big thing for for today. Besides answering any questions, I'm looking to see if we have any. I think I'm supposed to be on LinkedIn Live here, but I can't. Again, I'm a newbie here, total newbie. So I don't know how to get on LinkedIn Live to see if there's chats. But you're more than welcome, anybody watching this. If there's any follow-ups to this question, just email to larry@workflowpartners.org. Any plans for this month moving forward, Katie, Amy, Kevin, in terms of things that you have to get done based upon anything that happened in May, as far as you know?
I had to change my pipeline view for TPO Connect because apparently 23.2, the old view is going away completely. They're forcing you.
You're talking about the old pipeline view.
Correct. The old pipeline view is going away, and
Yeah.
I hadn't moved it over yet. I have it in UAT, but not in, just because, changes on correspondent portals are hard for correspondents sometimes. And so anyway, we finally did it just last night. So I haven't had any 12:20 here, and I haven't had any emails about it. So
That's
I'm
good.
assuming they're able to use it. Yeah.
How are you, on TPO, Amy, how are you handling pricing? Do you use EPPS or OB?
We use OB.
All right,
And
so
they
you're
just,
integrated fine.
yep.
Yeah. And you don't do any fee requests, right? For like through Closing Corp or anything?
Correct. We do not.
Okay. All right. I got to ask this question. We're helping a new company come online with TPO. We're helping them launch their Encompass in June. And that question came up. And I showed them, I said, there's only five built-in service providers between appraisal, credit, and product and pricing. There's not that many. So the rest of it's got to be done through a custom link or some custom page scripting. So I didn't know if you did any of that.
We don't. We're a true, with correspondent investor, we just give us your loans. We don't want to mess with the rest of the stuff. And, and I could see it on a broker wholesale channel. I could see it on doing some things that way.
Yeah.
But on that true correspondent, it's just, you do everything in your system and do it all, and then just give it to the end product is what we want. So.
Yeah. No, it's true. A correspondent is a different animal. And you guys are you using correspondent trades at all?
Yes, we just started using that. That was apparently there's nobody who really knows the correspondent trades tab really well, and the mandatory delivery and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I had to basically spend hours and hours and hours teaching myself how to use it, and then finally got a couple of great people at ICE to help me out. And so yeah, we're doing some mandatory bidding on mandatory trades from other people to ingest their loans and buy their loans from them. And when it works really, really, really well, which is most of the time, but it's very finicky.
What was it's funny because I've been talking about correspondent trades tab since they rolled it out. I think it was like version 20 or something, maybe version 19. It's been a while, but hardly anybody.
19.4, yeah.
What was the biggest like hiccup that you had to deal with? Do you remember?
Getting my CSV to, when I'm ingesting it to create the loans and Encompass from the bid tape, basically.
Oh, really?
Getting it to match, because there were times when if you didn't have a field formatted to 3 decimals, we'll say, it would fail, and it wouldn't tell you why.
Just tell you.
So
yeah.
Just tell you that it failed, and I'd be like, well, what could it be? So it was just a lot of trial and error and ingesting bid tapes over and over and over again after making one little change. And but now we kind of know how it works, and so it's a lot better than it was. But it's nice that it creates it all and the loan for you and gets everything all ready for them to go. Now I just want them to do some more tweaks on TPO Connect for some bulk uploads. But
yeah, on the bulk upload part, yeah, I see it. I mean, again, there's a lot happening. But I always said when ICE came out with, or at the time LMA came out with the secondary trades tab, like there's so much power in that sucker because it's basically a SDK within the software.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good to hear that
they are coming out with bulk XML uploads towards the end of the year. In case you were, because they have the bulk document upload.
Right.
And I'm like, well, why don't you just put your little XML button right here next to it, and I can bulk drag XML files into these loans also, once I filter them by like my commitment number. And then I can just go in and then I don't need Investor Connect because they can just kind of.
I was going to say, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the whole thing, like eFolder doesn't really hold XMLs, right? So you got to go in the back way.
Right.
So that's what you heard, huh?
Yes, that was from Marcy Davis and Joe Pesh. So
okay,
straight from the horse's mouth.
Well, I like it when you drop names, Amy.
Thanks.
Really powerful.
I don't know who I am, but no, they met with me and they actually said it, because I specifically asked them on the XMLs, and they said that was coming at the end of this year. So
okay, rocking. I will end this party for today with a flashback. So I've talked about this a couple different times, but I just wanted to go back down memory lane because the internet lives forever. And for those that were with me, when I was at ICE back in 2012 and 13. I was an implementation project manager, and I had an insane amount of projects running, as we all did. And so one of the things I tried to get clever about is how to clone myself. And so basically it was I broke, and again, this is 2013, gang. And yes, YouTube existed, but it wasn't what it is today, if you can believe that. And so there wasn't a real way to kind of streamline the idea of compartmentalizing learning about Encompass settings and things like that. So I created at the time, again, the most powerful thing at the time was using Adobe Connect. I think the product is still out there, but it's certainly not the best LMS on the market, in my opinion, anymore. And so I created basically my calendar to look like this. And these were live sessions basically for the entire day. And if somebody showed up, this is what we talked about. And if somebody didn't show up, I was free to do other project stuff that I needed to. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because if anyone is interested in going through the Mastering Encompass for admin, I'm basically breaking up learning into this kind of a style. So we basically had a 2-cycle week, where this week, you can kind of read some of the stuff. It's funny how, again, this is 10 years ago, mind you, and there's trades tab right there. So, and then there's always open hours, these kinds of things. But the idea is you hop in if you wanted to speak about something specific, or you needed help on something specific, the calendar was there, you signed up and you joined up. So if anybody's watching this and you wanted to learn more about the Mastering Encompass platform, that's over in mortgage.community. Get this thing out of here. That's in mortgage.community, and you can come into here in this Mastering Encompass. We did drop out the coding. I got a message this morning, coincidentally, about the coding part, and we dropped it out. I think that course is doomed. I've tried to launch that coding thing now for the better part of 3 or 4 years. And there's always some kind of snag at the very last minute that kind of yanks it away. But I am going to bring something else in that's focusing more on plugins. More to come on that. But basically, it's this kind of a format where everything is going to be set up. Again, it's not built in here yet, but it's going to be built in the lesson. So if you were looking for a review of all the settings and how things run from top to bottom, that is really what the whole program's all about, is making sure that you know every single setting, top to bottom, inside and out, including all the web, including Consumer Connect, TPO Connect, Trades tab. Amy, I wish you would have called me. Like, why didn't you just call me if you were having struggles with that?
I didn't know that you were a master of the trades tab.
Oh my God, yeah.
Now I know, yeah, but now
sorry.
I feel like I'm self-taught.
Well,
like
and
everything else.
and that's good. I mean, doing it yourself, you learn, and especially if you've got live loans, right? You're forced to learn. So
right, and now I can troubleshoot really, really well, because I'm like, well, it could be something as simple as you didn't format this. Here's the template that you're supposed to, So yeah.
And you're on the cutting edge. Again, I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear ICE say how many companies are actually using the correspondent trade. I know
there are not a lot from what I
handful.
found, but so the one guy that I helped on TPO Connect, I think Ian was his name, went above and beyond to learn all about it so he could help me with an issue I was having. And they did tell me that this gal in customer service, who manages the department, she's very, very well, knows it very, very well. And she said, oh, I can just set up a meeting with you. And so they're very willing, once you get to the right people, to be like, oh yeah, let me help you and stuff. It just took me a long time to get to the right people. I went through a lot of, I don't know what that is. And so.
Sorry. Yeah. Anytime anybody, I might not have touched it in a long time. But there is rarely a section that I can't either help you directly or get you to the right person without going through too much of a circus. A lot of changes at ICE right now, so sometimes getting the right person is a little bit challenging, especially, if it depends on time of year, that kind of thing. But overall, it's usually pretty cool. That's all I got for today. I try to promise to keep these things at 30 minutes. My big thing for the day was going over that DateDiff calc field and the rebuilding pipeline, because I figured a lot of people don't know about that.
Hey, Larry, one quick question on the rebuild pipeline.
Yeah.
If you have a bulk updater program, can you just populate some random field and it'll do that calculation while that's happening? Or
Explain to me the question again. Like you're saying, I create like
So
what's the
instead
use case?
instead of rebuild program or rebuild pipeline, sorry. If you have a mass updater tool, which there's many of them out there, that you can just populate, say, custom field 57 with some benign data that you don't care about, will that then, because it opens the loan, puts that field in, will that recalculate or do your calculations on your custom fields?
As long as the plugin that you're using actually does a commit on the file before it exits the file, theoretically, yeah, it should work.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Not every bulk updater actually commits to the loan file. A lot of bulk updaters actually commit to the field,
Gotcha.
and don't actually update the loan file. So
Okay.
you have to be really careful about what you're using and understand it. And I would always test.
Right.
But you can see it clearly. Like if I could show you the live pipeline in that client, you'll see like some loans are populated with those custom fields and some aren't. And that's even though they're obviously in the reporting database because some are showing, but that's a classic example of, yeah. And so, yeah, if you've got some third-party plugin or homegrown plugin that you can go grab a CSV of loan files, it'll open the loan, enter something in, or maybe even just open the loan, save and exit. Yeah, it would accomplish technically the same thing. That's all rebuilding a pipeline is doing. Yeah.
So Kevin, there's your homework for next week. If you would do that and let us all know if it works. That'd be awesome. In theory, I think you're right. It could work.
Yeah.
That.
It's again, it's all doing the same thing. If
if you didn't have rebuild pipeline as an option, that's just and you could get more granular if you didn't want to rebuild a whole folder, and especially if it was a large folder. But
no, but you have to remember rebuilding. You can separate out each folder. Are you saying I only want to rebuild some loans?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you just wanted to update the data in,
I guess,
a specific investor's loans or, conventional only and not FHA or vice versa, that's a much smaller footprint than rebuilding the whole pipeline.
I could see your point 100%. It's just that usually when you have these use cases, it's a global issue.
Right.
It's not,
I understand.
Yeah, it's like, when you're trying to backfill that in, it would be, but I could certainly see the example of like, we had to build a custom field just for conventional loans. Like maybe I do a lot of work with construction to perm. Maybe it's just affecting only construction to perm loans. So I don't want to rebuild all 100,000 loans. I only need to rebuild 20,000. Yeah, I could see that example.
Gotcha.
Awesome. Great question, Kevin.
Thanks.
Is that one you're developing or you just buy it from somebody else?
No, it's one we got from Mortgage Tech quite some time ago. So
gotcha. Cool. Glad to hear it. All right, gang. I'm going to go. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. See you next time. Thanks, everybody.